Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so I'm right outside of the sports club. Gonna do some swimming today, some working out. I'm gonna do some push-ups and some dips and some hands far apart pull-ups. I'm sure you're really interested in that. Sorry about that. You know, it's interesting because my wife and my two daughters are back behind me at this play center called US Land, and they went there this morning and met other mothers with other kids, but being a father, I wasn't invited because no other fathers were invited, so I kind of get it. So I'm not calling sexist this time, but it is weird. You know, I parked my bike over there, and it's weird walking past a wall and you know that your daughters are on the other side, and you're not meeting them. It's weird. It's just a weird feeling. Anyway, what am I making this video for? Well, the first thing is Bitcoin. I just checked. It's lost like over $2,000. It's down to 14,000 a coin. Hey, it's still, I mean, if you got in on the ground floor, it's still, you know, you're still doing all right. But I just got a good dose of Schadenfreude. That's all, you know. When you don't have a piece of the stock and it takes a tumble, then yeah, nice helping of Schadenfreude to ease those bitter thoughts of how much money you lost when you passed up getting in on the ground floor. What does this do for Bitcoin? That's an interesting question. It ain't untouchable, and it's finicky, and it's gone up and down, and that's got to make people panicky and jittery. And you know, a couple weeks ago it was just going up and up and up, and boy, the sky was the limit. Well, we might not have seen the limit, but we've seen that it can go down, and it can go down a lot, and that it's just not this endless stairway to the stars. Reference to a Blue Oyster Cult song there. Any Blue Oyster Cult fans out there? It's a whole nother video. Anyway, yeah, so boy, you know, a couple weeks ago I thought even if you were to get in now, you'd probably still make money. I'm not sure about that anymore. I wouldn't get in now. And if I had Bitcoin, a lot of it, and I was like minted, but it was all in Bitcoins, I would probably wait to, hopefully, cross your fingers, it gets back up to 17. I don't know if we'll reach 20,000 again, maybe. And I think I'd get out. I think I'd say, okay, I'm minted. All my 1,000 Bitcoins turn into cash, because this would make me a little bit panicky and maybe have reservations. And there are other Bitcoin, well, cryptocurrencies out there, and boy, like, you know, the tide of whatever, the tide of you know, interest shifts to another one, and you know, who knows what will happen. So anyway, that's part one. Part two of this video is when I get out of here, and hopefully I'm not so tired I can make a video. Wristwatch check. Of course, the F91W, the Casio. What better watch for the sports club? Although, part of me thought, yeah, I should just wear the sub here and then just switch the sub with this and keep the sub in the locker. It would be fine, but it's just easier. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to switch watches and all that stuff. So anyway, take care until the next part of this video. So long. All right, guys, all finished. Now I've got to be really careful here because They got like a no videotaping the pool policy. They don't want any of you guys perving out, so that's about as much pool footage as I feel comfortable getting. I have no idea why this area is so dark. Usually it's kind of light. Actually, it's kind of interesting. You can see where I work out down there. All right, well, let's continue on as I take my backpack off. Let's make a little bit of a video and get into some watch talk. First of all, I will say, this is not watch related. You know, if somebody were to ask me what is happiness, you know, I'm setting aside all the, you know, cheap chemical approaches, drugs and alcohol, and of course sex is up there, but that's an easy one. You know, being with the people you love and you care about, that's another one, of course. But you know, those come when they come, and you know, the question is, how do you stay happy in your daily life? Just, you know, you got some time, and how do you increase your happiness? And for me, it's increasing the sense of accomplishment and all the endorphins that come with it. You know, whether it's completing a project or, you know, just making it to the sports club and having a great workout. It's really why I keep going to the gym. Yeah, the health reasons and, you know, confidence building and all that, but man, I just feel so good afterwards. I think, you know, that's something that Archie Luxury might want to think about. See, not this, you know, Archie weight loss bullshit, but like, you know, getting to the gym and really, you know, busting his ass and doing it until those endorphins kick in, and I think that would be a really good idea for him. All right, well, now that I've preached and wasted even more time not talking about watches, let's talk about new versus vintage, specifically the paradigm shift that was ceramic. That was huge. I mean, it's akin to when Canon became synonymous with the EOS system, and all their prior lenses became incompatible. It was a new era. And it was the same with the release of the ceramic models. And you can really tell that Rolex felt it as well, because they kept the same reference numbers, but they just added a digit before that, and that really alludes to how momentous it was. Now, one viewer, I think it was Jay Sykes, he's got great comments, all of his comments are really good, was saying that they inadvertently did the vintage market a good thing. I think inadvertently give it a kick in the ass or something like that. I can't remember how he phrased it, but I think that's absolutely right. I think they did do it like that. But leaving that aside, I don't think maybe that was the intention. I really want to talk about the intention behind that. And I think there are two things that they were probably thinking. These aluminum bezeled models didn't change aesthetically for decades. And so I think, it got to the point where, a shopper was looking at a new Rolex and an old Rolex, and there's really aesthetically no difference. And if they went pre-owned, they could save a buck. And they could find really good pre-owned pieces. Most people aren't picky like I am, and most people see a polished piece and think, well, that looks new. Why would I pay for the new one? when I can get this perfect piece for thousands less. Again, polishing wouldn't even really come into play. It wouldn't really even cross their mind probably. But having so many of those pieces, those the decades of the GMT aluminum bezeled watches on the secondhand market, it's not so good for Rolex. I mean, Rolex is a victim of its own quality in the sense that they make things to last, and they do last. And when they last, they turn up on the secondhand market, and they eat into sales that would take place in an AD if, say, Rolex is crapped out in 5 years, right? So I think that's one thing. It was to sort of set itself apart from those prior models. And I think another, very related reason is because, I think they were keeping up with other brands that were using ceramic. I think they didn't want to date themselves, and the charge could have been, well, we've got all these shiny, strong bezeled ceramic models from other companies. What is Rolex doing? So I think they kind of were forced into it in a way. I also think that the ceramic look is shiny, and I think that sort of meshes with okay, my wife just called me. They're done at U.S. land, and they're going to be going home now. All right, so where was I? So, in a way, as classic as, say, 16710. Geez, I hope I got that reference number right. The GMT Master 2. As classic as those dimensions were, and as perfect as they were, Rolex just sort of had to do something new, and putting a shiny ceramic bezel was a decision that sort of kept them up with the market. And where I left off before my wife called, I was saying that Rolex has really gone up market. It's really synonymous with luxury and wealth, more so than its tool watch origins. And for Rolex to reject that and sort of eschew that identity, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's really wise for them to do that. And so I think they sort of played into that market. And you can see it in the polished middle links of the current GMT Master 2. It gives it a bit of bling, as does the ceramic bezel. Also, I think they're following a trend of bigger watches. Now, the Explorer 2 was, I'm talking about the current one, the current Explorer 2, that's 42 millimeters. I really think that's an experiment on Rolex's part, and they did it with a watch that wasn't so popular. Whether it's a failed experiment, I don't know. I think they wanted to see the market's reaction, and it's kind of surprising that they did it, but not surprising that they did it with that model and not fuck around with their bread and butter, i.e. the GMTs and the subs. Pardon my French there, by the way. But even though they kept the GMT and the sub 40 millimeter, which I think deep down they know is the right proportion, they did fatten it up in a way. The cases are bigger, and the bezels are wider. And I don't know if the bezels are wider because they have to be wider for strength purposes, but when you look at a ceramic sub and a sub like what I have, the insert is more narrow in something like I have, a 14060 versus a 44060. It's thicker, and I think that sort of, I don't know if that's just for practical purposes, just because of the nature of ceramic, or if it's to, give it that much more, girth without really making it more than 40 millimeters. Now, I really don't have anything else to say other than it's going to be interesting to see what the next paradigm shift is. And it's going to be years. It's going to be decades before we see it. What can they do? What will they do? Will ceramic, and it will at some point when they've moved on to different things, how will it age? How will it fit in the vintage market? I've always wondered, how will a ceramic bezeled watch look aged and used? Does that shininess mesh with the case? I mean, imagine a faded GMT Master 2. The bezel is faded and it's got signs of use. I mean, that's sort of that classic vintage look. How is that going to work on the ceramic models? That'll be interesting to see. Now, I didn't mention the maxi dial or the fatter hands, but again, that's again an attempt at more wrist presence, for lack of a better term, more noticeability, more in your faceness. It's an aesthetic that I don't see eye to eye with, but from a practical business point of view, I can see why they did it. They needed something different. Decades of the same model. I just think it was probably time for some difference. And let me know what you think. I mean, was that paradigm shift? What do you guys think of it? For me, I think it was a mistake, but I understand it. I get it. What do you guys think? Did you like the direction that Rolex went? Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.